A private investigator and former military and civilian law enforcement officer is hoping to add more protection for this line of business. Richard Brooks is president of the Professional Investigation Association. Brooks is pushing to get House Bill 713 passed through the legislature. It would require private investigators are licensed. As it stands now, anyone can start up a PI business, even convicted criminals.
This bill doesn't cover process servers or security guards or anything like that. This bill covers private investigators. But in Mississippi, you have to check them out because you don't know what you're getting.
Brooks says the public and most lawmakers are unaware this line of business is unregulated. He equates Mississippi with the Wild West when it comes to the private investigator business and says it's long past due for more stringent oversight.
And some lawmakers want all private investigators to have a license. House Bill 713 would require all private investigators to undergo background checks and pass a written exam. Representative Mark Baker authored the bill. So far, Mississippi is the only state in the Southeast to not require private investigators to be licensed. Advocates say this bill is really important and needs to pass.
This is important because you've got convicted felons running around as PIs. I mean, the person that cuts your hair has a license. The person that does your wife's nails has a license. But private investigators don't have to have anything but a pulse.
Now, the bill has died many times when it's been put before lawmakers. Today is also the last day for any bills such as this one to make it out of committees, or they could die.
Could a convicted felon be hired to watch you and your family?
Well, a new bill is looking to change that. News Channel 12's Parise Thomas tells us what House Bill 713 could mean for the state's private investigators.
There's no requirements. Beating heart is the requirement.
A requirement private investigator Richard Brooks is hoping will soon change with the Mississippi Private Investigation Regulatory Act, or House Bill 713.
The citizens have no way of judging the individual they're hiring as a PI's background, training, experience, ethics, nothing. I mean, you can walk out of prison and start your PI company in the morning.
Currently, there are no laws regarding private investigators being licensed in the state, but if a law is passed, that will all change. Everyone will have to meet certain requirements in order to become a private investigator.
Every PI is going to have to go through a background check. They're going to have to submit fingerprints. They're going to have so much experience.
Brooks says it's all about protection.
But the number one reason for this bill is to protect the citizens. They don't know what they're getting. I mean, it's the Wild West out here when it comes to PIs. Because there's no licensure, there's no background. So you could be hiring a convicted felon.
Parise Thomas, WJTV News, Channel 12.
Well, the bill has already passed the House and currently sits before a Senate Judiciary Committee.
Well, it's Valentine's Day, at least for another hour and a half, and couples around the world are celebrating their love.
Surprisingly, a lot of money is spent around the holiday finding out if couples are sharing their love in more ways than one. Around Valentine's Day, the sale of flowers, candy, and jewelry increased, but also ringing up the sales tracking devices, according to industry insiders. The owner of one online spy shop says sales spiked 30 to 40% before each Valentine's Day as spouses get to the bottom of their suspicions. And big sellers are GPS trackers and hidden cameras. We reached out to a licensed private investigator for his take. Richard Brooks is a former law enforcement officer, current PI, and past president of the Mississippi PI Association.
Anybody can get a tracker. You don't have to be a licensed PI, but I mean, you can get a tracker anywhere from $150 to all the way up to $1,000. Most of our trackers run about $500, and then there's a service to use and track these systems real time.
Brooks says at least one thing your partner may have should make you leery: an additional disposable phone.
If a spouse finds a Go phone, something like one of those throwaway phones, it generally means one of two things. Either your spouse is dealing in illegal narcotics or they're having an affair.
Finding out who your loved one is communicating with, what they're doing, and where they're going gets simpler with the help of monitoring devices and hidden cameras.
You can't monitor somebody else's devices. You get into wiretapping laws and things like that, but you can install apps on a phone and determine downloads, images, text messages, things like that.
Brooks says if you suspect your loved one of being unfaithful, you should remain observant, pay attention to their behavior, and contact a reputable private investigator.